The third season of the Propaganda Basement is now over, but even before that even happened, I'm already working at the next season. So let me show you around on how it will be constructed. Hello everyone and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Alright, so initially the idea of this video was to be a shorter one, donor circle exclusive, just to show around the pile of propaganda that I had brought from Southeast Asia, and on which I will base not just the upcoming season of the Propaganda Basement, but also the upcoming series on Cambodia and Laos when the time will be right. But then I found some more propaganda that is not necessarily related to Southeast Asia, and it is also mostly in English, and therefore I made a decision that unlike the first 3 seasons of Propaganda Basement, which had 3 or 4 episodes in English and 16 or 15 in Romanian, probably the 4th season will be either entirely in English or 15, 16 episodes in English and 1 or 2 in Romanian. I still haven't entirely made up my mind on that one, but I did made my mind up on the fact that it will be majority in English. And then I realized that probably on this channel in particular, the one in Romanian, I maybe sometimes explained it, especially during the podcast, but on this channel I haven't explained probably ever what is the thought process behind new videos. And outside of the donor circle, definitely I never explained or even illustrated, I guess, how long it takes from the moment an idea comes along and the moment a video is being made. Now that doesn't mean I don't make spontaneous videos, I do, but much more rare lately. Much more often I prefer to make these kinds of videos where a lot of thought processes go into making it, and basically every single word is chosen and consulted and thought about. Especially during the inside the donor circle, I sometimes ask, well, how does this sound? Does this sound good enough? Although primarily I only consult with myself, so there's that. But on a more serious note, one thing led to another, and since I was already coming to the basement here to videotape a mini-series on censorship in post-communism in Romania, I was like, yeah, well, why not? Since I already have to carry all of this to the basement to be prepared for the autumn filming, I was like, yeah, well, how about I make this one a little bit longer and explain it and make it in public as well. And by public, I mean it will eventually be in public. When I'm recording it, the last 3 episodes of the Propaganda Basement hadn't been published yet. So still, the donor circle gets a heads up, gets let known in advance. But in any event, so before showing you around some other propaganda, maybe I should show something that I have probably never told about to many people. So this is an original cassette of a band that no longer exists. It's from 2003, no, 2002 actually, so 22-year-old cassette. From a band that was basically doing comedy music, honk honk kind of music, and the name of the album is I'm Pumping, and just like in English, in Romanian it carries the same 2 meanings, namely one meaning that is that is literal, as in filling up the tires of a car or whatever, and also the sexual innuendo kind of meaning. So yeah, it says here, right, copyright 2002, Intercont Music, all rights reserved, copying, multiplying and public play of this recording is forbidden. Now I hope, now Intercont Music no longer exists, but there are some other rights holders who have bought the archive of this. I hope it will, since the video of the song that I wish to play is available on YouTube, I really hope the people at the current rights holders won't be so eager to copyright strike me. So yeah, since at the propaganda basement I always show a lot of old stuff that either still works or it's still available in my little basement, I said, hey, why not a cassette player? I haven't touched one in more than 15 years. Oh, look, it actually works. So yeah, with the background of this song, let us then proceed. Yeah, by the way, I also have their second album. This one was far less successful. The reason I'm playing this is because while looking for some other cassettes that I will need for the censorship series, and by needing them for the censorship series, I mean these two will feature in their censorship series once we get there. I also found things that I wasn't looking for, such as this one, which got me into a lot of funny memories from an era that is now not just bygone, but irrepeatable, essentially. I mean, the times of 2002 were crazy when it came to the music market. It was just prior to the emergence of viral content on YouTube, but it was already inside the digital age. And, you know, the cassettes were still around, but it was more of a thing of pride to still publish cassettes at the time. Already piracy on the internet was already big, especially here in Romania and generally speaking in Eastern Europe. I mean, that's why we still have, and that's why we had at those times faster internet than everyone else, because, you know, piracy requires bandwidth. So yeah, while looking for these two, I found this funny one that you're listening in the background. I hope the sound is not too harsh. And then I found these ones, which were part of a cult. The head of that cult was just arrested again on charges of noncing. He was noncing at these times as well. Let's see if this one has a date on it. No, it doesn't. Gee, I'm fucking surprised. But yeah, that particular cult, the Movement for Spiritual Integration in Absolute, published a lot of tapes, and don't ask me how I have all of them. Well, actually, I don't have all of them, but I have a lot of them. Let's just say that I had a very close connection inside that cult. But yeah, they were publishing a lot of... oh, there you go, 1999. So yeah, they were publishing a lot of propaganda, some of them with speeches and some of them with repurposed music. So, you know, I'm actually quite surprised that nobody ever pursued them in court for breach of copyright. They were repurposing a lot of music from all over the world with these kinds of claims that it's great for meditation to... get a perfect health. That's what it says on this one. It contains subliminal messages for attaining a perfect state of health and the amplifying of one's trust in one's own strength. So, you know, of course, it's just basic bitch instrumental music. The music itself is not bad, but the context in which these were published represents in itself as part of Romania's history that I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't want it to be told, which is why at some point I will tell it. Although again, it is challenging to tell it because if I play one of these tapes, the risk of being copyright stricken is pretty high. So there's that. Yeah, then there's this. This is one of the first, if not the first tape bought after communism fell, because being able to get a something like this with this cover was just unimaginable back in communism, at least not at an official store. So this one was bought from an official store. And then these ones, yeah, this is really fun. It's a cassette with stand-up comedy, and the lead guy of this wrote most of these jokes, which are at the expense of the political class, and now he's part of the political class. He probably will be an elected official come this autumn of 2024. So yeah, cassettes notwithstanding, let's start going through these. That's why I chose this particular t-shirt, because nearly all of the physical propaganda that will constitute the basis for the 4th season of Propaganda Basement is from the Democratic People's Republic of Laos, because, well, they're still publishing it. In Cambodia, they just stopped publishing propaganda, period. They have a few blogs online, but that's pretty much it. No more newspapers. The state propaganda is nearly non-existent. It's a very weird space. It's not like in China where they digitalized propaganda. No, they just stopped doing it. So there's that. But in Laos, DPR, although they're slowly getting into the same direction, they still do have it. So, for instance, here, these ones, I bought them from here, and I don't know if I caught it on camera correctly, but it's basically the state library, the state imprimery, where they basically print propaganda. So, yeah. Les fêtes profanes et religieuses au Laos par whatever, the author, 1967, the 2nd edition, 3,000 exemplaries. So this was a guidance, the propaganda guidance for party apparatchiks on how to counter religious superstition in Laos. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020, 57 years later. I can already tell you the result. It didn't work. But in 1967, the Communist Party was trying to get into the people's heads and try to remove some of their religiosity. Not as harsh as Stalin, but nevertheless, the idea was to get them to no longer believe in spirits and whatever. And to be fair, some of the Laotian superstitions are very far from harmless, are in fact quite dangerous. So, in a way, I understand the impetus, but of course it's not the business of the state to regulate these things. And the Laotian Communist Party found out the hard way, because all of it failed, and eventually they had to come to a compromise with the plebs. And the compromise was was as follows. Not only Buddhism and its associated local superstitions were no longer illegal, but the state is now responsible to maintaining all of the temples, and there's penalties if they don't. And they changed the flag from the communist one to this one, which contains Buddhist, this red and white color scheme. You can see it on the flag of Thailand as well, and on the flag of Cambodia as well. And that's because it is a Buddhist, red and blue, sorry. It's a Buddhist color scheme. So basically, the commies lost the propaganda war on religion nearly entirely. The only thing that they managed to achieve is, at the very least, Lao DPR doesn't have Buddhism as an official state religion, unlike Thailand and Cambodia. But other than that, they lost everything. Okay, so then there's this. You don't need to understand Laotian to understand what is this about. I just bought it because it was like 20 cents or something, and when I saw here New Generation Education and COF-19 propaganda, I'm like, yeah, I gotta have this one. And there's another reason why I bought it, because this format of propaganda, okay, minus the writing, yeah, it says here that it was 5,000 kip. No, it was even less than that. 5,000 kip would be about 25 cents. So no, I think it was less than that, but whatever, let's say it was 25 cents. It was basically nothing considering the quality of the paper. I mean, they basically sold it at a loss for sure. But the type of propaganda is really it just jumps into one's eyes, because this, especially these kinds of footage of images exactly with this format for the fluffy cough, then became the standard at the what at the time I was calling the Wuhan Health Organization, and basically it's one of the many pieces of evidence that the WHO is essentially, yes, the Wuhan Health Organization. It belongs to the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party. Whether we're permitted to acknowledge that on YouTube or not, I've just stopped giving a damn anyway. So there's that. All right. Then the commie imagery of the Laotian Communist Party. At the very least, this will give me, during the conception of the series, will give me an idea on where to start with looking at the propaganda. So, basically I went to all of the locations mentioned here, and once I'm done reading it, I'll know whether anything is worth included in the series or not. It also has some very cute imagery. Again, I don't necessarily need to have them on paper, although it's really nice that I do. Again, this one, considering the quality of the paper, was definitely sold at a loss. Let me see if it has the price on it. No, it doesn't. But it was still next to nothing. I mean, I got a huge bag of propaganda, and it was less than $10 or something. I mean, it was really next to nothing, the whole thing. So there's that. But knowing what images I should look for, that will definitely make my video research much easier, and it definitely made my visit to Vientiane easier, because, or I guess I should say Vintin. It definitely made everything easier because I knew what I was looking for. So yeah, for instance, this one is from the President's Museum. I'll show you a lot of footage from the President's Museum, although not this one, because this one is not of particular importance. But the President's Museum contains a lot of these, what do you call them? Useful idiots, I suppose, from back in the days of what Westerners would call the Vietnam War. And of course, the Communist Party in Laos was in full gear with the so-called peace movement, which, just like today, just so happens that it always supported communist autocracies. So, just a pure coincidence, of course. Yeah, so there you go. A lot of their own version of commie propaganda. Some of these you can still find them today in 2024, although they renounced quite a lot of them because, well, even the commies in Laos started to understand that some of this is pretty cringe. Yeah, this one, yeah, if Ceausescu had been alive today, he would have had the author of this executed, probably. But yeah, this one also is very representative of how Laos functions. Oh, there you go. Some more Unitel. Yeah, this is from Laos. So there's that. So yeah, I'm gonna read a lot of propaganda in preparedness for the part of the Southeast Asia series, or the Khmer Empire series, or whatever I'm going to call it. Reading a lot of local propaganda will be part of the preparedness. All right, what will be definitely featuring in the fourth season of the Propaganda Basement will be, of course, all of these newspapers. And yes, I do have a lot of China Daily. These ones actually got them from Cambodia, not from Laos. It was probably the only printed newspaper available in Phnom Penh. the local newspapers, there's just like they're at the level of urban legend. Everyone knows and thinks and is sure that they're still being printed, but either nobody knows where you can buy them, or they do give you a location and you get there and they're like, yeah, we haven't been selling a newspaper in 5 or 4 or 3 years or 6 or whatever. But they do sell Chinese newspapers, including Chinese papers in English, and this one is in particular was the best because it was free of charge. So I didn't have to feel guilty by giving money to the CCP. You could get the CCP's propaganda for free, and well, of course, paid for by the slaves, that is the Chinese population. So, of course, I'm not under any illusion that it's for free, but I didn't have to give money to the CCP. And some of these have a lot of propaganda that will most definitely, throughout this decade, become self-evidently false. And therefore, I'll be able to just point back to something physical and say, well, remember when you all fell for this particular Chinese manipulation, like this one, for instance, right? Bitten by AI bug. The whole thing with the global south. There you go. You started hearing this kind of language coming from Muscovy or Russia. More recently, this wasn't in the repertoire of the Kremlin until Putin became an annex of the CCP. Yeah, this whole thing, ChatGPT inspires new large language model applications. You'll see that the whole grift will come down collapsing, and it will be really fun. And when that will happen, I'll just open this newspaper and say, well, remember when you all fell for the Chinese-inspired propaganda, or the CCP type of propaganda? There you go. Fury at Gaza refugee camp bomb strikes. As always, Asian communists are very particularly interested in global peace, as always, without any exception, always on the side of the barbarians, because, well, welcome to Asian communism. I mean, Asian communism itself is barbarian, so there's that. This one being from November 3 to 9, 2023. Of course, it was the context of the Chinese foreign minister taking a quick trip to Joe Biden. We'll go through most of these throughout the series, just like, so now I'll just... I hope I don't have too... I tried my best not to get more than one version of each, because that's one thing that I can definitely share. These China Daily were available for free on several establishments, and one particular establishment had a huge pile like this, so more than 1 meter tall pile of China Daily. And they had like 20 or 30 or even more exemplars of every single issue for the last 2 or 3 years or whatever. And I just went to them and said, well, can I take a few of them? And they're like, well, can you please take them all? And I'm like, well, I can't take them all. There's not enough room in my suitcase to carry them on a transcontinental flight back here. But I'll try to read you of some of them. So I just went through their archive and got into a lot of them. You can see the consistent graph, right? It's all of it is commie era. I mean, just as an archive value, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to get all of these. But yes, we're going to read through them and comment them in the context of the news that will be in the autumn. Spoiler alert, usually the propaganda basement now in its 4th season, I usually start preparing them around now in early February, and I videotape them. I come here in the dungeon either in late summer or in the autumn, usually August or September. I start videotaping them all, and then I edit them in October and start scheduling them for publication all the way till February or March the next year. Now it's February. I started thinking about it, sorting out through the propaganda, and at the end of the process, I'll have an idea on what's permissible, what's appropriate for propaganda basement season, and then in autumn, just before the yearly tour, I'll come here to videotape the fourth season. And oh, there you go. So I do have 2 issues of this one, bitten by AI bug. Oh well, it happens. But after that happens, and again, this schedule remains the same regardless of whether you will choose to fund the Latin America tour or not. But especially if the Latin America tour happens, it's a must that I come and record the propaganda basement episodes prior to leaving in that tour. All right, so besides the Chinese papers, of course, there's the Laotian papers. By the time I got to Lao DPR in late 2023, this paper remained the only one that was still being printed. The Laotian Times stopped printing in 2021, and these guys still print it, and it's like nothing. The first national English language newspaper established in 1994, yes, and then I went and paid for the archive. They give you the electronic archive if you're willing to pay for it. Unfortunately, it was $10 per year, so getting the entirety of the 30 years was not particularly cheap, so I didn't. I just got the archive for the first 2 years because I want to compare the news in Laos at the opening stages of the reform. 1994 was still one of the big reform years in Laos, and of course the present day. So in 1994, the idea of visiting Laos was one of those weird, quirky ideas, like visiting North Korea today, right? Whereas in 2023, when this newspaper was printed, or 2024, as you can see, they're advertising it. Yes, I got footage from this ceremony. I attended this ceremony, so that's why I wanted to have the newspaper from that day. Nowadays, it's one of the tourist destinations in the region. It's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say Albania, but I guess Albania if the commies had not been removed from power, but rather decided themselves to no longer be so brutally insane, I suppose. And that's kind of like the idea. It's the cheap tourist destination in the region, and it gets millions of tourists for a country of 6 million. It's quite remarkable what they managed to achieve there. Yeah, so there's plenty of current issues discussed here, and that's one of the many reasons why I wanted to have as many newspapers. Yeah, think about that. Notice this. This is basically from the internal archive of Vintin Times. Yeah, I went to their headquarters and I said, well, I want the whole thing. And some of them, they just didn't have a second issue, and they're like, yeah, whatever, you can have this one for 5,000 kip, no, 5,500 kip per piece. For reference, that's 22,000 kip is $1, so essentially 25 cents per issue. Again, the quality of the paper is not great, but still a lot of pages are colored, so probably again sold at a loss, so, because some things never change in communism. Yeah, this picture is real. It's from a Laotian railway station. There's a lot of stories that I need to tell you about Laotian trains. Contrary to what they say here, they're funded by China rather than what they say here. But please notice, they denominate even their own bonds in Thai baht. This is something that I'll keep repeating in my upcoming video about de-dollarizations. You know, Laos is quite literally China's backyard, and the regime in Vientiane is upfront about being explicitly pro-CCP. There's basically two factions in Laotian politics, the pro-Vietnamese side and the pro-CCP side. And by pro-Vietnamese, I don't mean necessarily pro-Vietnamese people, but rather in favor of Vietnam style of policy. And that doesn't mean just economically, but also geopolitically. As you know, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam is not just in great relationships with the West, but it's also in relatively dire relations with the Chinese Communist Party. They really don't trust China. Not that I can blame them. In fact, I think that is the healthy policy, and the Laotian Communist Party needs to get on with the times. It's no longer fashionable to be pro-China. But still, anyway, so you would expect this country to be the most in favor of de-dollarization and in favor of adopting yuan and whatnot. I mean, it's the perfect candidate. And yet, there you go, the official propaganda paper, July 13, 2023, Lao ready to issue 3.61 Thai baht billion bonds to fund national development. The government basically denominates everything either in US dollars or in Thai baht. And if you're a foreigner and you need to pay in cash something to the government, whether it's a fine or a visa fee or whatever, you can only pay in Thai baht or US dollar. So the government doesn't accept its own currency from foreigners. So that's how much trust they have in their own currency, which I've come to call it bumage while in Laos for obvious reasons. But the thing is that the same holds true for the whole region. So de-dollarization, China isn't able to shill effectively for de-dollarization literally in its own backyard. So good luck with imposing it more broadly. This also funny. The employment permit system skills test is not difficult. All of these pictures are entirely propaganda pictures. I've been to this building and spoke to several people just a month or two after these pictures were made. Nobody wears a muzzle there. That just doesn't happen. Let's just put it this way. That's just not happening. So no, all of it is propaganda, that's why it's funny to read these newspapers, and I'll have a great time during the filming of Propaganda Basement, because, well, I'll be able to just say fact check false, fact check true on things, because, well, I've just been there, so I'll know whenever they're full of it. So yeah, there you go, some pro-EU propaganda in the Laotian paper. So yeah, we'll go through all of it. Of course, I will select things depending on the interests at those times. And then there's these two. These ones are actually already available on in the donor circle for the members of the donor circle. This is already, I've made them available. I've spent 2 days making them available. Physical propaganda on CDs. There you go. Lao highlights, Buddhist music. So yeah, this one I bought it again from the official printing shop, printing press, whatever, state printing press of Lao DPR. So the state sponsors the existence of DVDs with there you go, 25,000 kip. So a bit over $1. Again, definitely sold at a loss. So I bought as much physical propaganda as I could, and I made it all available for y'all in the donor circle to the extent that it was possible. I also reminded myself just how difficult it is to rip DVDs. Yeah, Surviving the Peace. This one, actually they have an official t-shirt from this organization. I didn't bring it with me here in the basement. Sorry about that. So yeah, I still haven't brought the entire canon of physical propaganda that I brought from Laos. Yeah, this one is made in partnership with the US, and it is about the unexploded ordinances in throughout Laos. Unexploded ordinances from the Vietnam War. Again, friendly reminder, a lot more ammunition has been thrown into Laos and Cambodia during the Vietnam War than during World War II. So, you know, but yeah, so there's that. Welcome to Lao DPR. Yeah, so if you want to see these, you'll have to be part of the donor circle where I made them all available, with the exception of this one, because initially I couldn't rip it, but then I was able to. So there is a new version of the torrent file with it. Landmine ER, the devastating impact of a weapon that knows no ceasefire. The Convention Against Cluster Munitions and Anti-Personnel Mines is probably the most popular here in Southeast Asia, and particularly in Cambodia, which is choke full of mines in ways that, I guess nowadays Ukraine can empathize. But other than Ukraine, the Balkans had a lot of anti-personnel mines, but nowhere near as many per capita as Cambodia and Ukraine. So yeah. This one is, I'll probably include footage from this one in the a video about the Khmer Rouge that I'll eventually make as part of the Southeast Asia series. And I'll show you a lot from this place, S21. S21 is the most well-known gulag of the far-left commie regime of Pol Pot. And in ways that, imagine this, when you say the killing fields, people realize that you mean Cambodia, but most people don't realize that the killing fields are quite literally fields, plural, multiple of them. Some of them impossible to access today due to geography for the most part. But they also mean concentration camps and gulags that make other commies think twice about just what is permissible in the struggle, right? In the class struggle. The Khmer Rouge were so terrible that the Vietnamese commies were like, this is too degenerate. We have to intervene and stop it. So there's that. And then I found a few other newspapers that may or may not make it into the final product that will be the fourth season of the Propaganda Basement. Probably this one is the least likely to make it into the final product because it's in German, and I'm just not that good at reading and translating simultaneously from German to English. Now, if I stop and think and start reading from this paper, I'll definitely understand more than 80% of it without needing a dictionary. But if I want to also explain it to you, and that's gonna be a bit difficult. Then there's this one. The reason I bought this one is, well, first of all, hey, printed newspaper in a very otherwise digitalized country, so yeah, definitely we're gonna buy it. And second, because it's from the pandemic, and it's from Sweden, and as a result, it's how do you call it, a window into a period that is now slowly being recognized as a colossal generational mistake. I mean, the whole pandemic project was a fucking shit show, and a fucking shit show that Sweden refused to participate in. And this newspaper from the middle of the hysteria is particularly funny. There you go. So just the third page of the newspaper. So you don't see COVID anywhere on the front page. COVID was the front page news in July 2020 in every country of Europe, not Sweden. Only the third page, and only a an editorial, an opinion, an op-ed, I guess. The op-ed is about just how terrible the whole COVID-19 management and issue is, and basically compares Sweden with others. And although the author doesn't want to come off as nationalistic, he kind of ends up doing so unintentionally. So there you go. In the corner, equal concern to COVID-19 was the gender certification of universities, one of the madnesses of Sweden that is now slowly, I don't want to sound too optimistic, saying so slowly coming to an end, but definitely slowly coming into the public perception that it is just wrong. So probably this one will make it into the fourth season. If not, then it will make it into the fifth season and beyond. Hopefully I'll be healthy and alive to make more seasons in of Propaganda Basement. This is, as the name obviously says, the Wall Street Journal. June the 1st, 2018. I was in Washington on June the 1st, 2018, so I brought it from there. Deutsche Bank is hit with rare rebuke from Fed. This kind of news has been ongoing for the last 6 years, and every time it happens again, some political analyst or commentator from somewhere acts very surprised. Oh my goodness, how did this happen? It's been happening for so many years. That's why I bought this newspaper, so I can have the physical archive available every time someone says that it hasn't happened before. Oh, it's unprecedented. No, it's not. Raising fear of trade war, 2018. Well, in the meantime, we are in a trade war, so that's one thing. Self-driving vehicles lead SoftBank and Waymo to Detroit. Nothing came out of this. Nothing. It was all a grift. Just 6 years later. So that's why it's so good to buy newspapers, because eventually, if time goes on, you get to verify your predictions. Like this one, calm Chinese stocks, it's the state's doing. At this moment in June 2018, it was an opinion. Now in 2024, we can definitely say that it was not an opinion, and it was indeed true, because we see now the shit show that the Chinese economy is, and our sofa friend Victor with the Honest Jew channel has been doing great analysis about the economy of China as of late, so you should probably check that one out too. Oh yeah, the Zeit magazine. Yeah, this one definitely won't make it into the season. Yeah, it's in German. 9. The Epoch Times. DOJ starts probe of Obama admin in role in spying on Trump campaign. Nothing came out of this either. Probably this issue of the Epoch Times, I'm going to use it in several discussions about panic porn, I suppose. The Epoch Times is a perfect example of a purveyor of panic porn. There's left-wing panic porn with the world is dying due to climate change. No. And the right-wing version of panic porn is things like this, right? We're all gonna die because of whatever, or everything is going to shit because Obama, or no. It's a bit more complicated than that. The Windhoek Observer, so there you go, Namibian newspaper. I don't remember how I got in the possession of this one, because I haven't been to Namibia in 2019. I've been to Namibia, but not in 2019. In any event, this will be also interesting because it has some news about the agriculture in the region, and the format of the commercials is also of relevant. Oh, there you go. The South Africa is committed to unity, says Ramaphosa to Buhari. We can definitely point at this and just laugh because the last 5 years have definitely proven that this is just not true. Victimization narratives surrounding African youth keep them marginalized. Yeah, this will be interesting. So yeah, probably this one will make it into the next season. Something in German. Goodness me. Why do I have so many papers in German? So basically now what I'm doing is basically sort them in public. So you get to see what I have to go through before recording a new season. The New York Times, a former newspaper, June the 1st, 2018. These men are kissing. Ho home. So, you can see the amount of time and space that the New York Times spent for so many years presenting you non-news, right? So, is this the best art that New York has to offer? A bunch of PEDAs on the front page? No, of course not, but that's what the New York Times thought that it is a good idea, and we can basically track in real time why the so-called mainstream media is now increasingly in deep trouble and why they deserve what's happening to them. Same thing here, right? Waiting for food at the United Nations camp in Juba, South Jordan. Officials fear millions. This is your main, the New York Times. The front page news is about some refugee camp in South Jordan. I mean, really. And these things eventually pile up. The public will never articulate it this way, but they will rightfully eventually end up to the conclusion that, look, I don't care. Anyone who tells you that they care equally about someone in a godforsaken country on the other side of the world, they care about that equally as they care about what they're going to eat at dinner tonight, that person is lying. No, the caring and empathy are a limited resource, a finite resource, and no, it's not distributed equally. I think I've shown some of these before, although maybe not this one. Oh yeah, November 14, 2021. Yeah, this one is from Bulgaria, obviously. I don't know if this one will make it into the final analysis. This one is from Serbia for sure. From 2019, 21st of April 2019. I'll think about this one because I do have a visit to Serbia scheduled, and maybe I'll bring some more Serbian newspapers, and probably these ones will make it into the fifth season of Propaganda Basement rather than the fourth. That's another thing. I prefer to wait at least 6 months, preferably a year, between between something is published and I use it in the Propaganda Basement. It has to be a little bit old. Then some right-wing propaganda. There you go. The NRA official journal of the National Rifle Association. There you go. Obama's ungracious exit. I think this one is from 2016 or something like that. March 2017. There you go. Yeah, we'll go through these either as part of the Propaganda Basement or as part of a separate series. I haven't thought about it yet. What were the right-wingers? There you go. It has a pin with the Don't Tread on Me flag and the US flag. That's how the magazine came. That's how I got it. So yeah, I got real right-wing propaganda, and that's what that's what your average Republican boomer was reading in 2016, 2017, whatever. There you go. This one has to be from before March. So yeah, we'll go through these as a matter of principle, so we can see what the boomers were thinking, because this is another aspect that probably younger people don't realize. People over the age of 50 or 60 in the US, they have a much higher turnout rate at the polls, and this is how they get their information. This is what they read. they watch cable television and read these kinds of things that come into their mail. They definitely don't spend time on Instagram or on Twitter, or sorry, X, because I've seen recently that Elon Musk wants to X's transition to be respected, so I'm gonna try on that. Yeah, there you go. I even have these, so I'm fully stocked on American right-wing propaganda. What's a lot more interesting is that they were still doing these while shilling for Trump. That's why I was discussing recently with an American friend that it's quite surprising how the MAGA crowd hasn't denounced Reagan yet. Not that they should, but it is one point of contention, considering their shilling for isolationism, and of course Reagan being anything but an isolationist. Freedom first, fight the smear merchants. Charles Schumer replaces Harry Reid as Senate Minority Leader. Yeah. So yeah, right-wing propaganda essentially. Stacy in the right. We'll look through this again, probably in one of these seasons. Yeah, there you go. This one will probably make it great for a Romanian language episode. An interview with a translator, and there you go. Shilling for artists on how they should stay at home so they don't get the coof. The paper is from May 15, 2020, made by Ziaul de Iași, that will be the Iași newspaper. Yeah, going through the archive of those newspapers, it's probably going to be fun. I will keep this one, but I'll try to get more physical papers from 2020 when the time is right and the opportunity arises. Yeah, this one is from a local newspaper from 2005, so almost February 2005, so 19 years old newspaper. This one will probably make it great either in Propaganda Basement or in the series about election propaganda in Romania, that is also part of the internal system. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is this is the thought process that goes behind it. Just sorting this will take several days, and that's how these videos are being made. And that's one of the many reasons why I switched entirely to this kind of model where things are researched a lot more. Basically, I speak less and I read a lot more. And when I speak after I've spent enough time researching the issue. Now, of course, some people think that's terrible. Others like it more. As always, I can't please everyone. I'm not even trying to please everyone. But I thought that it's probably a good idea to show you, what do you call it, a sneak peek into the thought process. Again, this video initially was considered as to be made only as a donor circle exclusive. But then upon further thought, I'm like, yeah, no, maybe I should show in public how all of this is thought out. And when the time will come to start publishing the next season of Propaganda Basement, then you will get to see which made the cut and which didn't, and just how much level of detail and work has been invested into the next season. But again, I don't even know how the next season will look like, because hey, I just barely finally gathered all of the propaganda in one place. Now comes the boring part of physically sifting through all of it, and it will take some time until the final decisions are made. All right, so as I was saying, if you want to see the propaganda on CDs from Southeast Asia, you should be in the donor circle. That's where it is already available. And yeah, now I guess I'll move to recording a series about censorship and sift through the tapes. Yeah, there's plenty of work to be done here. With all of that being said, send me to the cartels. Thanks for watching. Cheers.